they did. No, it's
Press sunlight. Press sunlight.
Stop. I don't have the proper the volume on this camera is really low.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
Oh, this one's nice. Where'd you get it from?
Amazon. I bought it in sets.
What, 3 for 10 or something?
3 for like 10. Yeah.
I told you 3 for 10.
Why? Is that a bad thing?
It's like kind of like a pattern.
Ryan, just take a
Hold on, I need
seat.
my jacket.
Who's sitting here? That's fine.
I love being helpful.
Yo, leave me alone.
It's okay.
Okay. Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. This is INSPIRATIONALNAE here once again with another video. And as you guys know, a lot of times I do girl talk videos, but this time I'm kind of switching it up. So I have a bunch of questions to ask some of my lovely friends. And so once we get this video started, you guys will be able to hear their advice, their tips, and their feedback on some of these questions. So stay tuned. Hey, it's Esther.
Hey, it's Elijah.
Hey yo, it's Ryan.
Hi, I'm Mo.
Hi, I'm Esther Minor.
Leah.
But the first question is how to resolve an argument. If you're in a relationship, what is the proper way to resolve an argument? What would you do?
Well, the first thing is communication. To actually talk about it and not like be judgmental about the whole situation. Make sure you get both sides of the story. Talk about it. Get it out. Work through it.
Yeah.
You don't have to raise your hand.
Right.
Not only that, like you have to be able to see the other person's point of view. You have to be able to be someone that not only do you want your way, but you want what's best for the relationship. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because it's really important to compromise if you can, and just kind of make sure that you are weighing in each other's person's like point of view, like she said, because just being open to listen to the other person can just like move mountains. So you just want to do that. I agree.
Well, as a single Pringle, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk from the aspect of not being in a relationship, but having friends who are in relationships. Esther spoke on the #1 thing, communication. But also I'm gonna add something else to that. Not just communication, but take it back to the root itself of the problem. You know, you want to be able to see where the problem sprung from and what led up to that, so that you're able to avoid that in the future. This way you can be aware to where if you see what led up to the problem the first time, if you start to see it a second time, you're able to identify it prior to it becoming into an argument. Therefore, it can be not diluted but diffused as soon as it's noticed.
Yeah, to piggyback off what he said, I think it's important, and it's something I learned a bit later in my life. When you're having arguments or discussions, not to try to get a win, but to try to come to a conclusion that makes everybody walk away better than they were prior to the argument. Because a lot of times when we arguments with our friends or loved ones, we tend to want to get a win or say, see, I got you.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, how can we not have this happen again? So I think the mentality is also important on how to resolve an issue.
And I think it's important to not to diminish the other person as well, because we all have feelings. So even if that particular thing doesn't affect you, just trying to be empathetic or sympathetic, however you say it, with the other person is really important.
To piggy back up what these two in between me said, I'm gonna be plain and simple. If whatever it is you're arguing about caused you to not talk to the person anymore, caused you to only say hi and bye to the person, caused you to not feel the same way about them, then y'all were never meant to be in a relationship to begin with, or y'all were never meant to be friends. The true meaning of friendship is to be able to bounce back from things that you go through, and the true meaning of a relationship is to understand each other on a personal level. If you can't love yourself and understand each other as individuals and as humans, you're not going to be able to open up your mindset to understand the other people to whom you may or may not want to be in a relationship with.
Alright, so my next question is, How do I go to my partner and express to them things that they do that I might not like or that might offend me, etc.? How would you guys do that?
Okay, so I would do it in a way where I wouldn't hurt their feelings, because sometimes our words can be sharp and like really strong. So maybe come about it in a way where, you know, tell them the goods first and then just say, well, you know, there's just this little thing, it's just a pet peeve of mine, but it doesn't change how I feel about you. I would just feel more comfortable if you've done it this way. So you want to be very careful about what you say, and keep in mind that you chose that person.
Esther Miner says something very true that stuck out with me. You know what you're getting yourself into. But I'm going to talk about the opposite side of that. Something I live by is a quote that I later came on with in life, which was, everyone's true character is revealed in defeat and not victory. A lot of times, a lot of people don't know what they're getting themselves into. It's more of what they're trying to get themselves out of. A lot of times people go into relationships blindsided because you don't know what you're going to expect. You just feel a sexual or physical or emotional attraction to a person, so you just want to immediately gravitate to them. Take time to get to know the person first before you just jump into it, because a lot of time today, 99.9% of the time, you'll find yourself wanting to get out of what you thought you were trying to get into.
I agree. I think that, you know, and I definitely agree with what you said, and to kind of circle back just a little bit, when your loved one does something that you don't like, I think it's important to first come to them with a kind approach and not an aggressive approach, because how you come, you know, you can have a relationship with a person where you've already established, you know, you can come to me about anything, but regardless of how long you've been together, I think it's important to remember how you approach the person, and what you say specifically can affect how they perceive what you have an issue with. And if you want what they do to be stopped, like Esther said, you know, you can't expect overnight results. And also, not to be the bad mean guy, but also reflect upon yourself and the things you might do that they might be quiet about, because they might not necessarily bring things up simply for the fact that they want to keep peace, even if there's things that you do that they might not like. So maybe also add, even though, you know I do this, you know, we both have things to work on, I know that, but this is something that I want to present to you because I want to get better in this relationship with you. And just approach it like that, not ever from an aggressive, attackish standpoint.
I was gonna say also, like, it's important to do like weekly check-ins as well, because I think those can be like
That's a good one.
transformational. I like calling them like pulse checks, like if you see like if, you know, your partner or somebody is like okay, like if you have a relationship with them. So like I kind of made it like pulse checks, because it's like checking your pulse, like seeing if everything's good.
That's cute.
She would know.
That's clean.
Yeah. Just so like you know like where the relationship is going, where the friendship is going, and there might be things that you don't know that annoy the person. Like I know, for example, when I was in college, I had a roommate and we didn't set any ground rules, nothing. And so like she would literally do things that were like so annoying, and I'm just like I'd be so angry, but like I'm like, how could I even say something, because like we didn't do ground rules or nothing. So like, that was a miserable experience.
I remember
but
that.
yeah, just being open to communication, like Esther said earlier, is really important.
But
And then you can get into like the bad stuff.
Okay. So my next question is, mistakes happen, yes, but how long should a person keep going until it's time to cut off the relationship? So if you're in a relationship, how do you know, like, finally, like, okay, it's time to, like,
does this
cut
have to be
this
a
off?
relationship, or just
It could be friendship, it could
I'm
be,
a single person.
yeah.
And I have no relationship.
Yeah, it could be anything, any kind of relationship.
Go with them twain. I'm just kidding.
So I think it depends. I think it depends on what it is, and also you got to keep in mind red flags. I feel like as even friendships, I don't do that no more. Thank God. I'm like, we're above that now.
Wait, do what?
Do what?
You
I
said
don't, red
the last-
flags. Like if I
Okay.
see
The
something,
last thing she said was
Oh, I thought you said
friendship.
you don't do friendship.
Red flags.
You, me and you on the dip.
no, because there are some
Seriously.
things that can be a red flag, and I consider some things a yellow flag.
The vices, doing the vices.
If you know you and that person, you have an understanding, you guys are only talking to each other.
Pause. Go ahead.
Sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties over here on First Church's campus. Wait a minute. Can you speak a little bit onto how you can escalate to a red flag? Because you're just jumping straight to the red flag.
Red flags for me are even
It's different for
okay. So
Yeah.
okay, so
It could be
okay,
like
so
trust issues, if
Right.
you're like lying.
okay, if you see a red
or-
flag the first time and you tell them about it, you go to them, you
Yeah.
approach them, you're like, listen, I really didn't appreciate that, and then they tell you what you did. But then if they do it again, that's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be friends with this person. 'cause-
Okay, but to that, it was like what we discussed before. A lot of times, you say something to a person and you actually said it. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
Right.
You got to give that person some time to be able to sit with themselves and think about and work on themselves, because there's a lot of things that people have going on with them that aren't going to be fixed overnight.
Right, then that's where it goes to the point where you have to know yourself. You have to know what you can handle.
Right.
If you're somebody and you can't handle your friends telling your business out there, gotta back up right away. If you're somebody, it happened the first time, you spoke to them about it and you understand, you see them changing a little bit and you think you can stay in that friendship, so be it. But as far as it goes, I don't think it's wise for you to see them not changing. So for me, I don't do red flags. Like if I see them doing something over and over again, maybe like twice, I'd be like, like
Over and over.
oh
Bless your heart.
Say it again.
okay,
Glory to God.
twice. Okay, I would say twice or 3 times. Listen, people show you who they are. Like they're gonna show. It's
All
not.
right, hold on. What do you have to say?
I was just gonna say like there's really no cut. There's no drying and like
Speak up.
I'm trying to.
You need to try harder.
There's like no like set like this is when you end a relationship based on it. Like
Right.
what you think is a red flag is different for everybody else, like based on
Yeah,
their
that's what I'm
experiences
saying.
and all that type of stuff. So I would really say like like you might talk to your friends about your other friendships, but you know what you can handle, you know what you need, you know what that person is giving you, and like the energy and all that type of stuff. So you have to make it like if you're seeing like maybe this is not working, take a step back, distance yourself for a while, and meditate on like whatever the problem is, because really like it's up to you to determine like, okay, this really is not working for me, or I'm gonna work through this because this person is worth it.
Go ahead. E.
I was just gonna say, you really touched on a lot of things I was gonna say, Leah. And I really think at the end of the day, a person should know specifically for them how much of something they are willing to tolerate.
Yeah.
There are some things for me specifically about a person that if they do it once, I'm done.
Jesus.
But there are some things if they do it 50 times, I'll be like, I'm patient. Because it's this specific thing. Good example, if somebody steals something out of my fridge, and it's the first time they come to my house, praise God, you ain't coming to my house. So that's a red flag. But
So you steal something out my fridge.
but if you come to my house and you spill a glass of milk and you say, oh, I'm just a little clumsy. A couple times, if being clumsy is your nature, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm not gonna say get out my house, you spilling stuff. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So but if I were to connect it to a relationship, let's say there's a woman I love, and let's say she is a klepto, right? Similar to what I'm saying, and she goes to my family's home, she steals things, she's taking money out of my wallet. That's a red flag. Just like how if I'm beating up on my fiance, if she doesn't see that as a red flag, she doesn't deserve, and she's not qualified to be with a man, because she won't notice simple things like that. That's not something, I'll give you another chance, I'll give you another chance. After all the bruises you're gonna get, you're gonna look like a whole different shade. So, you know, so you want the team dark skin, you're gonna get it there. But,
Ain't no wrong with team dark skin.
no, there's nothing wrong with that,
I don't know.
but I'm just making the
sorry.
point that
Sorry.
you will get darker because of the bruises. That's
Right.
the point. So,
But that's good.
Esther?
Oh, sorry, Esther.
So yeah, basically what I was gonna say in the beginning was there's some things that you will go 20 on. There's other things
Right.
that you'll do like 70 times 7 on. So it really depends.
Yeah.
It really depends.
I would say
So-
to that, it had to do I mean, like, Naomi, can you repeat the question real quick for me, please?
Red flags. How many times?
Yeah,
Repeat the
how do you
question.
know when
how do you
it's
know when it's
time
time
to
to
cut
quit?
somebody off?
Okay, so
you don't like talking about red flags.
no,
which is
so
great,
here's the thing.
but-
Knowing when to cut somebody off depends on what your boundaries are for a person.
Yeah.
Knowing when to cut someone off also kind of ties into self-care and what you will and won't tolerate. So when it comes to approaching a friendship, because I'm talking about friendship, people. I ain't talking about no relationship because I'm not in one.
Single Pringle.
So everything, single Pringle. Okay.
How many times are you gonna say that in this video?
And he said it, not me.
I just-
But to talk about it, no, like to
He wants
really
it
talk
known.
about it. No, I don't want it. I mean, like, if the Lord blesses me, then that's a different story. Glory to God. Anyway, like I'm saying, people, keep it real.
Esther, you are.
I love it.
You know
This
boundaries.
is why I be a mascot right now. I was gonna tell her that. I was like, that's what you are wearing. You're not wearing a mask right now. Your expressions
No,
are
but
visual.
to be honest, knowing when to cut someone off is like basis of boundaries and expectations in a person. So don't be so quick to call someone your friend. Be more easy to name them an acquaintance or just someone you speak to from time to time. And that's something my mother taught me that I had to learn the hard way versus the easy way. Was because a lot of times if you don't grow up with friends, like for me, I didn't grow up with a lot of friends because I didn't hang out with a lot of people when I was younger. So the moment people started to want to hang out with me, I was so quick to call them friends. And my mother taught me at a very recent age too. I know y'all thought I was gonna say
I thought you
earlier.
were gonna say it.
No, very recent. I must have been like 18, 16, 17, 18. But she was like, don't be so quick to call them friends. Be more quick to name them an acquaintance or just someone you speak with. Because the problem is, you do call everybody a friend, you start to trust everybody, you start to put your business out there, next thing you know your business is all over the place, and then you want to know why, why your business is out. So something you have to look for is how you're being treated by that person. But also, okay, to wrap it up, look at how the person is treating you when you're with them, but also look at how those people are treating you when you're not around, or when they think you're not around. So you have time to observe them in their natural atmosphere and habitat, because everybody that's up front isn't how they are when they're not with you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with those points too, especially like the last part about how they act like when different people are around. That's important too, because some people they'll kind of like put you off to the side and then talk to you later, like when they're bored and stuff. So you don't want to be in that situation. And I think if the person is narcissistic or they're not even trying to make a change, and like you keep bringing it back to them, and you know that they're not trying, like they're blaming you for stuff and blaming you for why you feel that way. It's time to cut the cord.
Yeah.
All right, so my next question is, as young people, what are some things that we do in any kind of relationship that tends to be a weakness? And this could be things to do with like
Caring
either
about
social
others
media,
before
it could be phone wise, it could be, it's a really broad question.
Caring about others before yourself would have to be something.
That'd be
that would be mine. That would be my number one, because I'm a caring person 100%. But sometimes I tend to put people's problems before mine. And therefore, when I put people's problems before mine, I'm more ready to help them out. That I don't have enough time to reflect on myself and the problems that I have within me, because there are many. But I think it also has to do with like not wanting to face the reality of yourself, and not wanting to have to face who you are truly as a person. We tend to put those things off, or we tend to suppress them. So something I've always done was care about other people. Like for instance, if Mo has problems, I will be more ready to focus on hers than mine and themselves. And that's the same for Elijah and Esther and Destiny and Naomi and everyone else in the room. So caring for others would be my number one thing. And sometimes that could be more so a weakness or a setback than a strength and a push forward.
I would.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
you want to go? I will go after you.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be brief. So.
I just looked up and I saw Esther's face. Oh my god. You really gotta control your face.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing you said.
Oh, okay.
It's alright.
Good.
That's what my face said.
I wish I saw it. I'm gonna watch the video. All right.
You'll see.
So what I was gonna say was one thing, we need to live in the moment, and I think the opposite of that is something that's extreme weakness. And that's why a little phrase that older people say, they're like, you don't know nothing about this. Like, that statement comes from a lack of exposure and a lack of experience. I think it's important to put down, I say this constantly to my family and the friends I have, put down the phone. If you go to a event, try to have that moment and not necessarily put it on social media, because it's such an integrated part of the fabric of our lives that when I look at certain things, like we miss so many moments, and I think that's one of the reasons why it feels like every day is just an hour, because every day we're so consumed by even not just social media, but little things that we do, our tasks. How often do we really take to just, like you said, focus on ourselves, take a moment and just sit and reflect on where we are, look at the clouds, breathe the air, try to experience something new, learn something new, instead of going into the rinse, recycle, repeat experience of wake up. Of course, God is the most important part. So that aside, you have to also integrate different things into your life other than, wake up, pray, Facebook, go to bed, work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the things that you normally do, because I'm sure there might be somebody watching this that's like, well, I don't do nothing. There's always something you can do to make your life a bit more interesting than it is right now. So I think be in the moment. If you can remember that, that'll make me happy.
Yes.
All right.
I want to go.
Right.
So, but wait, this will be
No, I'm not gonna cut you off. I'm just saying we only have a few more minutes left, so whatever you guys have to say each, just try and make it a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Yes,
What was
ma'am.
the question, my attention.
Are you gonna ask me what the question
Wait,
is
real
again?
quick, real quick.
No, just
It's because he kept talking. No, I have such a good point. Okay, yeah, oh yeah. So this is what it is. But ask it again so I don't run off track. No, seriously.
As young people, what are some
yeah.
things that we do in any kind of relationship that tend to be a weakness?
Right. So I know some. Okay, I'm not gonna say some because I can do that also. It's not an issue for you to have someone specific to talk to. Like, how sometimes when you have, for example, when you're in a relationship, don't be so focused. When you have a problem with your spouse, go to your spouse. But if you need advice, when you need advice on something, like I would say.
But it's so funny.
But like.
Sorry.
Wait, is it me?
No.
Brian, Monica, EJ, and Esther.
Oh my God! No, we got a few minutes left. Okay, I'm gonna.
You don't want to keep forgetting.
No, I was going. No, that can be in relationships. A weakness is going to anyone else aside from your. Just tell her.
Go ahead.
A weakness in a relationship can include going to someone. Okay, no, seriously, stop, guys. I'm done.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, instead of going to someone else about your relationship, go to your spouse first.
Well,
and then if there's
spouse.
something, or friend, or whatever.
Oh,
Is that a bad word to use? But
Well, spouse is like if you're married, right?
Yeah, spouse is
Your
if you're
partner,
married.
your-
Oh,
I think you
partner.
want to say like, partner or
Okay,
like your
partner.
friend.
So, go to your partner first, try and get that resolved, and then when you can't get it resolved, see if you can get outside help, but from
Advice from a
someone that
wise
you,
place.
from someone that you trust and from someone that is wise. So, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, now what I was gonna say that's a weakness would be being unbalanced. Like for me personally, I'm the type of person who likes. I'm sorry. For me personally, I'm the type of person who likes.
Hilarious.
It did actually.
Okay. So sometimes I'll spend too much time being like checking on people for like a long period of time, and then I just can't do it anymore. I'll be irritated and like with like myself because I haven't spent enough time working on myself. So I'll take a whole I just want to disappear. So I think it's really important that you're balanced with yourself. You're okay with yourself, because if you're not okay with you, then you can't give what you need to give to that person.
Yeah, that's true.
Right on.
Yeah.
The only
thing I wanted to say to answer was trusting people too fast.
What?
Trusting people too fast. That's what
Okay.
she said.
Alright, this might be our last question. Rumors, actions, and backtalk always seem to surround relationships. So, do you have any advice on how to be strong in a relationship that people try to go and bear down, talk about, etc.?
The short answer is ignore it.
Ignore it, okay. Anybody else have any advice? Can anybody
who said
relate?
Ignore it. No, definitely don't ignore it.
Ignore the hate.
Don't ignore it.
But like, because people might actually, I know some relationships people might act, because I'm speaking from experience, there have been people who have come up to me personally and told me rumors about certain people or blah 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 blah, and this and third, and vice versa to my other person. I don't know if you guys have any problems.
Yes.
Rumors
yes.
wise, people hating on you, like low key or high key, either way.
Or like right in your
Any
face.
advice for anybody else who's watching
When I
to
say
be?
ignore, I mean like don't engage in
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. No, because a lot of time, like, well, actually, I've had a lot of people say stuff about me to other people to
Okay.
get those people to stop talking to me. So like, and this is like all over the place too. This is like in church, out of church, in work, out of work. So it's like, if something like that is said, then I need to hear it from the person to whom told it to the other person. I don't want to hear it by word of mouth. I don't want to hear a hearsay. I don't want to hear it through a third party. You know, a lot of times the reason friendships are destroyed is by people opening their ears to too many outside sources and to listening to what too many other people have to say. And that's how friendships get destroyed. If you have something to say, or if you feel a certain way, talk to the person the moment you feel it. If you have an ought, go to them. If you two can't resolve that ought, get a witness who might be already made aware of what you're going through. And if they don't, bring someone else in that's completely unbiased. Because too many friendships I've seen get torn down because of rumors, backbiting, talking behind the back. And then those friendships are destroyed, which makes you really wonder, were they really friends with you in the first place?
I would say I've never personally experienced as much drama as you guys may have experienced from what you're saying. Not saying that y'all always got drama, but but I would say that if
Anybody else got something?
Oh, I was gonna say if people are saying bad things or trying to stir up trouble between you or another person, I would say I agree 100% with what Leah said. It's important to ignore and not to engage and not to fuel it as much as you can. And if you are a part of the drama and misinformation, I would say that you should reflect on what you're doing and maybe pull out of those relationships so that way you're not involved in the drama.
Yeah.
But definitely, it takes time. It's not easy to ignore things because it's not easy to let things go and let people talk. But it's the right way. So I would say that.
Yeah, and I would say be as private as you can, because the more that you put out there, like whether it be on social media or just talking about people, that gives people a breeding ground, like to talk about you and come up and really just exaggerate things. So that's what I would say about that. But also, just be positive and like Leah said, like ignore all that stuff and make sure that you're talking to each person. Like if they said something about somebody else or it affects you, maybe go to that person, because some people can feel like, oh, these people like pitted me against them, and it's just like, no, just be open, be optimistic, don't believe stuff in a hurry. Like make sure you're listening to each person, and then you can kind of make a better informed decision.
Yeah.
What you said is very true. Like being as someone that just learned how to be private because of holiness, because I'm still learning what should and shouldn't be said, but the less that is said, the less issues you'll have. And also what I would have to say is don't be afraid of confrontation. I know there are a lot of people that are, but if you have a friend, the way to get to the root of the issue, you're gonna have to confront them.
Yeah, right.
And so you have to get used to speaking up and defending yourself without being rude and without, disturbing anyone else.
I would say it's really important in the midst of all the drama and rumors and outside stuff to make sure that you're having a quiet relationship, because people might know you're together, but what goes on in your relationship should stay between you and the two of you guys.
Yeah.
So that's going to help you deal with the rumor, because these people don't actually know what's going on. They don't know this person like I do. So that's just something to consider.
That's on period.
Period.
I think it was that song Mary Had a Little Lamb.
That's
Only
so
we can
Mary.
say that.
Yeah, that's a big
No,
That's
people
a
say
Mary.
that one too.
People have been saying that lately.
Yeah.
In church?
Or maybe
Any
that's
other
just
questions?
him. I know I've been hearing.
I actually have a lot more, but we ran
All right,
out
let's
of
do
time.
one more.
No, it's 5 o'clock already.
We need
Oh.
to get prayer.
Well, should we do
So-
like a
We should do like
Yeah.
one final thing to leave for the audience.
So what would you like to tell somebody who's watching?
Right. Say it again, Braille. Say it again.
No.
Say it again, Braille. Say
Love
it again.
yourself.
First.
Respect
Yeah.
yourself.
If you don't
Above
love
all
yourself-
else. And make sure God is present and you
Profile.
Right. In order for you to love someone else, you have to love yourself first. So if you know you have issues that will really be a disturbance to a relationship or friendship,
Right.
and I'm still learning this though, but just back away from the person.
And
Okay.
I would say don't involve yourself in any relationship, friend, fiance, whatever, out of desperation or
Yeah.
need
Yes.
or necessity.
Glory to God.
It's better you be single than be with someone out of
Jesus.
desperation because it won't last. That's all I have
It's
to
gonna
say.
bring you more heart.
All right, is that all?
Yes.
Keep
That's
God
you don't wanna say
first.
anything?
We already said that.
Is it terrible that I
Stop
didn't
reading.
listen? What did he
Hold
like
on.
to say?
My thing
Wait, no.
is,
He said,
my thing is, keep God first. Everything else will fall into place. Whether it be relationship, friendship, soon to be talking phase 2 relationship. Seriously, keep Him first. Everything else will fall into place, and you won't have. If you do have problems, you know exactly who to go to.
Okay, we're done.
Should we talk about? Oh, never mind.
Wait,
Stop.
what?
I don't know what the thought.
Yeah, part
there will
2.
be a part 2.
I was about, the
There will
thought
be a
came to
two.
me about dating and stuff like that.
gonna get all this.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
part 2. All right,
All right, that was fun.
Are you ending?
Goodbye.
I'm gonna end it and then I'm gonna do it.